Welcome to another edition of Focus on Alternatives, brought to you by ADISA, the Alternative and Direct Investment Securities Association. For more content like this, please visit adisa.org and check out the resource library. My name is Greg Mausz, happy to be your host today. I'm joined by Michael Anise. He is the CEO and co-founder of FG Communities. Michael, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about manufactured housing, investing in that. But how long has this been a kind of an investment sector? When I think residential investing, I oftentimes think multifamily housing, not manufactured housing. So can you give us a little background?
Absolutely. Manufactured housing, it's been one of the oldest residential options for a very long time, going back to the 50s and 60s. It was originally developed for, military members and their families to live in. But as the years went on, it really became one of the most affordable residential option that's available out there. So it has a really long history of being part of the American fabric. If you go, for instance, to the Southeast, it's very common to see, folks that live in a manufactured home or a mobile home that's not even within communities, but that's just part of what they were able to afford to access, that American dream of owning a home.
Mm-hmm. There's also been a couple famous investors that like this asset class. Tell me more about those.
Absolutely. I mean, two of the biggest investors in this space is Warren Buffett. He owns Clayton Homes, which is one of the largest manufacturers of mobile homes or manufactured homes. And he also owns 21st Mortgage, which is the number one lending in this asset class. You have, big investors like Sam Zell, one of the, biggest real estate tycoons out there. And it's funny because Sam Zell had many publicly traded REITs in all of the different residential or non-residential asset classes, ranging from hospitality, multifamily, student housing, industry, industrial type of assets. And he sold them all except for ELS, which is traded on New York Stock Exchange.
Interesting.
Only aggregates mobile home communities, and it's been consistently issuing dividends. It's one of his legacy REITs that he never wanted to part with.
Fascinating. So in the headlines, I'm hearing a lot about housing shortages of all types of different parts of the country. Can you touch on that and how manufactured housing is going to play into that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you go to any part of the country, and their number, one concern for housing is there's a shortage of homes out there. And it's even more so for affordable housing. So, different cities and different, states that have this, housing shortages, but it's even more apparent in the affordable housing for folks. And that's definitely true when it comes to, especially mobile home communities or manufactured housing communities. Greg, I don't know if you know this, but they're not building any more manufactured housing communities. So I think there was a Forbes article that I read a few months ago that basically says or talked about how within the last 20 years, they've only developed 10 new manufactured housing communities. However, every single year, there are on average 10 communities that are being bought out by developers for different uses. So these developers acquire these communities because they're in such attractive locations, unfortunately kick everybody out so they can, build something else. So there is net less and less of them every day. And I think I know what your next question is, which is why they're not really building them anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'll give you two main reasons. Mobile homes are considered vehicles.
Okay.
You actually get the title of a mobile home from the DMV. And what that means is that these mobile homes don't contribute any real property taxes to the, cities or municipalities. So that lack of monetary taxation does not give the incentive for the cities to approve these types of projects compared to other real estate projects that actually contribute real property taxes, for those cities.
Makes a
The
lot of
second
sense.
reason is that there is that NIMBYism, right? NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Right.
So anytime these cities think of approving a project like this, all of the surrounding property owners they think, oh my God, I don't want a mobile home park, next to me, because they have that, perspective that it's going to devalue their property value, and they pressure the city councils to vote it down. And therefore, you hardly see any development of these communities throughout the U.S., especially in major markets.
Is that really accurate? I mean, the mobile homes that I see these days, they're pretty nice.
I know. Yeah, if I show you some of the pictures of some of our residents within our communities' homes, you wouldn't even believe you're in a mobile home. They're actually very, very nice from inside and even outside.
Thank you for laying that foundation. So for advisors and investors, why should they care about investing in manufactured housing?
Well, I would say, number one, it's an impact investment.
Okay.
At the end of the day, our mission, for instance, at FG Communities, is to preserve and improve this asset class. So you're really doing something that's good for the economy by preserving one of the most affordable housing options that's not subsidized by the government out there. And it's an amazing cash flow opportunity. We're talking about, acquiring communities that are obviously fully developed because they're not developing them anymore. They're fully occupied. So it's a pretty risk-adjusted type of investment. There's no development risk or lease-up risk. So you're acquiring communities that are constantly producing consistent returns while being an impact investment and doing something really good for the economy.
I like the way that you laid that out. So more specifically, how can people invest in manufactured housing, or what's the different ways you can take a position?
Well, you can always go out there and buy mobile homes and rent them out, or you can buy an entire community and own that community and invest in it in that way, or you can invest in privately held REITs or publicly traded REITs that own and aggregate these communities and really know how to professionally manage these communities and extract the most value out of these communities to their shareholders. So there are definitely multiple ways of investing in this asset class.
Okay, so that's helpful. I'm glad there's multiple choices there. But I mean, how does investing in manufactured housing really compare to the other types of, I guess, residential investing or real estate investing?
Sure. So I like to highlight the main benefits of why MH or manufactured housing is pretty unique compared to other real estate asset classes. Number one, it's very recession resilient. I've talked about, the three other publicly traded REITs in the space. You have SAMZEL ELS, you have UMH, and you have SUI, which is Sun Communities. If you looked at their SEC filings going back from the 80s crash, 90s downturn, the 2007 financial crisis, I had a chance to experience that myself during COVID. While all of the other residential real estate asset classes or even commercial asset classes were struggling with occupancy, if not more with delinquencies, manufactured housing historically have increased into rental rates and occupancy during any recession period or economic downturn because, naturally folks want to downsize their housing cost and they look for those types of options to get into to reduce their housing costs. So very recession resilient. We've talked about the risk-adjusted investment from the fact that this is already a stabilized, fully developed, fully occupied communities. It's a pretty fragmented asset class. So 75% of the inventory of manufactured housing communities are still owned by mom and pops, smaller operators. So it's ripe for aggregation to really professionally manage them and put in the deferred capital to take it from, a Class C to a Class B, a Class A type of, communities. And at the end of the day, they really produce consistent dividends.
So when you own a mobile home community, I'm assuming there's a couple different ways you can do it. Obviously, you own the community, but are there plays where you just own the land, or you own the land and the house, or the mobile home? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on the investor or the fund or the company's objective. You can own the entire community, which is the land, and you can own the homes as well. So in a lot of cases, you're renting out the home plus the lot that home is sitting on. Or in a lot of instances, you can own the community, the lands, where the tenants own the homes.
Okay.
And they just pay you lot rent, and that's a land lease model.
Right. Michael, thank you for walking us through all these aspects of investing in manufactured housing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. It was my pleasure.
And thank you for watching another episode of Focus on Alternatives. Again, for more content like this, please visit adisa.org. Thank you.
Thank you.